series of your .me Agent Hub training. So here we are on my realtytexas.me subdomain. From now, if you've been watching the video series, you've watched the video 1, how to log in and access your .me. You've watched video 2, how to configure your agent profile. Video 3, a 1-hour video about the agent dashboard and how all the parts fit together. And then video 4, a short video on our MLS product, MLS Plus. This video is going to actually be about your rooms. This is our compliance engine for every property that you have under contract or every client that you're working with. We ask that you create a room. Your managers have access to your rooms. Your transaction coordinators have access to your rooms. And it allows us to have one centralized location to make sure that our compliance requirements are kept for risk reduction, that all of the required documents are very easily to understand. We even have videos regarding different paragraphs of the contract, and we've put our required documents together in packets to make things easier for you and really easy to manage. A lot of companies out there are using many different products, but one of them is the DocuSign transaction room with the DocuSign e-sign service. We have decided to move away from that because it was not built for real estate at all. It was a one-size-fits-all solution, whether you're a tech company, a real estate company, or you sell cars. And so it really didn't fit what we do. Real estate is a really, really unique business, and so we really want to have all of the truck agents, all of the MLS agents, as well as all of the property records all in one place. So to access your rooms, you have a few different options. As you saw in the agent dashboard video 3, that you can go down to your rooms and you can click the go button on any of these and it will take you directly to that room. So if I click on 5920 Green Acres and click the go button, it's going to take me directly to the rooms to that property. So for what we're doing here, I'm actually going to create a brand new room from scratch. So if I click the rooms product, you will see 4 tabs at the top. You will also see this button here, which will take you into a full screen view. If you have a very large monitor, some of the gaming monitors, these will continue to be responsive, meaning that the 3 columns will go to 4, 5, 6, and 7. If any of you have walked by Ramina's office, who's our compliance officer, you know that we got her a gaming monitor so that when she's managing all of the rooms for the company, that she can have up to 10 windows wide, because she is handling a $500 million annual production with the compliance of the company. So she's dealing with a massive amount of rooms. So the first thing you notice that you've got your totals window, and this is for an agent. This is your totals for your business. Talks about how many transactions you've sold for that year, moving forward, your production, your average sales price, your average income, and then kind of a bar graph of your business as it's come along. And then you'll see down here a commission for each one of the transactions. There's a worksheet math to see actually how much commissions in dollars you've made, how much dollars you've made in terms of average commissions for year. Then we have a map. This map can also be found at realtytexas.me/map. For any of you, you can click this, and this is for the entire company. So if you're on a listing appointment and they say, well, have you guys sold anything in my neighborhood? Well, yes, we have. I'm pretty sure that we've sold in every neighborhood that is in existence in the Austin area. And so this has been really helpful. Shout out to Susan Hurley, who's a new realtor with Realty Texas. She's been my stager for many years. She's working with a divorced couple, and the husband really wanted to use us and had been working with us while his home was being rehabbed, and his wife had selected a few realtors, and he presented us with a list of those 3 realtors from the wife, and he said, based on his conversation with his attorney, he really didn't see how he was going to be able to choose Realty Texas. So I sent a copy of a map for what that agent did versus what we've sold. Now remember, this is huge. In our realtytexas.me, we have Sagent. And so I entered the name of that agent. I don't remember who it is, so I'm just going to grab someone here at random because I don't remember who that agent was. And I bring up, well, this particular agent has only sold 1 property. So that's a horrible example. But I searched for that agent and I brought them up, and they had sold 2 homes in the subdivision, and I brought up Realty Texas and we had sold 40. So I sent a side-by-side scenario about how many homes I've sold as an agent versus how much they sold, but then also how much Realty Texas has sold in there, and we got the listing. In fact, we beat out all 3 agents specifically using this map. So the map is a big deal. Don't underestimate its use in your business. So going back to the room, and I'm not sure which tab I had it open. I'm guessing probably here. So this map is a list of all of yours listings, and so you, just like I showed you, realtytexas.me/map, we have the same thing for each agent. realtytexas.me/your-name/map. And then you can share this with your clients, and then they can see just how many homes you sold in the areas you as an individual agent. This is my map, and you can share this with your clients. For the top producers, really love this because it really shows and it screams competency. How many homes I'm sharing with you, how many homes I've searched, has the other agent shared with you, how many of those searched. And again, you can do the same thing with a company. It's just as impressive, more so sometimes, even if you show the whole company. And then the timelines is coming soon. You see this little CS. Because we have the form system built into our rooms environment, you're going to see all your deadlines and timelines for each transaction. This is almost done, but we have other things that have taken priority over this. So this is in our Q3 rollout, which means it'll be done sometime August, September, October. Sometime in that time frame. Okay, going back to rooms. So those are the 4 tabs that you have on your rooms. Then you have the rooms that you've created, how many rooms that are submitted to compliance, and how many rooms that are sold completed. And then you've got your canceled rooms, you've got your rooms in draft, open DAs, approved DAs, and then you can search for a date range. So we have a new button here. This is cool because this just is a quick little thing that says in 2022 you've got 5,600 in commissions and you've got 86,000 in commissions approved. So this tells you where you are right now in your year, and you can sort these, either most recent on top or oldest on the bottom, however you want to flip this. And then the photo that shows up here is a photo that comes directly from the MLS. And if you're working a buyer, there's sometimes not a photo yet because they haven't found a property to buy yet, but once they do, the photo will be added. If it's on market, you can upload your own photo. If you're looking for a specific property, you can type in a specific DA number. So I'll just go down here and find, so it's going to open one really quick. This one is DA 5522. So if I happen to know my DA number 5522, I can either search for it and it'll bring up just that property, or I can search for an address. And it will bring up only the properties in this list that you've closed. So these are all my properties that I have closed that's in this list. So it'll help you zoom in to that one specific property. So this is when you click rooms, this is what the header is. This is what all these fields do. If you're creating a brand new room, you simply click the new button. When you click the new button, it's going to say, congratulations on your new transaction. Click OK to create a new transaction room. And now there is a brand new transaction room created. It is in the gallery. It's backlighted by green to show you that this is the one that's just been created. And when you select it, it's going to immediately ask you, what is the property type? Okay, so are you working with an apartment, a condo, a lot, a farm and ranch, or a commercial? Or single family. So we click single family and select your role. I'm working with a buyer on a purchase. I'm working with a seller on a listing. I'm working with a tenant on a lease. I'm working with a landlord on a listing. I'm working with a tenant on an apartment. I'm getting a check in the mail for a sale referral. I'm getting a check for a lease referral, or you're working on a BPO. And so these are the different options. And so we want to break this down so you can really understand easily what it is. Okay, I'm working with a buyer on a purchase, for example. So this would be a BA sale, buyer agent sale, that's what is happening in the background here. When I click OK, the packets tab has now been limited based on us knowing that you are representing a buyer. And so all of the forms in the system are only going to be delivered to you that's relevant to that type of a role. So first, we have a save button here and a submit button. Once you're ready to submit your room to compliance, to get your DA approved and get ready for closing, you'd click submit, and then if your room is in proper order, meaning you have the right documents, you have and all your documents have been signed and labeled, you have all your fields filled in, then the system will allow you to submit the room for compliance. The blue dot will double itself here, and you'll have blue, and it'll be submitted. And then once your room is approved, then it'll go in for DA approval, and then it'll be ready for submission of checks. Now, once your room has been submitted, sometimes the close date will change. If the close date has changed, the DA has already been previously generated. Title company has that DA, so there will be the blue button from submit will change to retract. You click the retract, it'll pull it away from Romina, it will unlock your room, and it will allow you to change the close date. And so, or if you had a transaction that is not going to make it, and it's gonna fold, and the buyer's not able to move forward, you can terminate. Most of the time, you're going to continue using the same room for every single property that they're working on, because you've got your representation role in here, you've got all your rep documents in here. So if you terminate that, you go into a different room. Now you don't have all your representation documents, and that's a problem. But we have created different folders, so all of the old documents and all of the things that have been signed can be moved into a folder inside of your .me for this particular room so that you can track it. I'm going to show you that, but right now we're just kind of giving you some basics of what is here and what is used for. So we've got our property type, our agent role, the room status. Above it, we have your name, the DA number, that it's still pending approval, meaning it hasn't been submitted, and then the address is to be continued because we don't have a property address yet. And you're creating the same rooms whether you're a listing agent or a buyer agent. If you're a listing agent, you know exactly what the address is the moment you create the room because you're going to be listing the property. But when you're working with the buyer, you don't know yet. So when you create the buyer representation role, the address becomes TBD. But when you're working with the seller and it says seller representation, well, then it's asking you to immediately put in the address for your listing. So let's start with the team tab. We've got 5 different sections here. We've got the individual party details. Now these parties come from your CRM. It's going to be attached to the reviews that you're going to be asking after closing. Your e-sign is going to be attached to these party information, and your real estate forms, or your forms for the sales contracts, are all going to be using these clients. Then we have the title company, and most title companies are already in our system, but it will allow you to add one if it's not already here. The lender, same thing. If it's a cash, you'll leave it alone. Otherwise, you'll select the lender. If the lender's not here, you'll click the plus button or the plus button here to add a title company or add a lender. But at this point, we've pretty much run the gamut of all of them. It's very rare that we actually have to enter a new one. Down here under other check information, this is where you will add the other agent. Now, you're just going to have to wrap your head around this because it's a little bit confusing. But when you get a license from Trek, you have a record in the Trek database. When you go to the board and join the MLS, you have a separate transaction record for yourself in each association. And so when we get the MLS data for every single realtor association and MLS that you're related to, we get a transaction for you, a record, an agent record for that MLS. So if you're a member of Austin and Waco and CTX, you'll have 3 board records, but you'll only have always 1 Trek record. And so we relate the Trek record with your MLSs, and it's a one-to-many relationship, 1 Trek record to many MLS records for the agent. And so this says other Trek agent. So this is going to be looking through the Trek database, and this is how you're going to get their broker information and all the details that comes from Trek. We also store their agent information as it comes from the MLS. That's under the property. So when we select the other agent, when we select the MLS, we get the MLS record, we get the office record from the MLS and the agent record from the MLS, and so that'll be displayed on the property tab. But on the team tab, we also have the other agent. Now, if you are the buyer agent and you drop down the property, we know through the MLS what record, what their office and agent record in the MLS, and then we grab the license number from the MLS record and we do a quick lookup and we add their information here to other agents. So we fill this in directly for you. And then down here is if you're paying a referral to someone. Someone gave you this referral, so we can track it, so we can make sure that this shows up on the DA so that this person gets paid. So let's add our first client. So all of the clients that you've done for every single DA, guess what? Already in the system. And so those people are already here for you. And by the way, in a future video when we talk about CRM, all of these clients are also in your CRM. You can search for them and limit based on your clients. You can grab one that's already in the system, and when you do, you see it grabbed their name, if we had a phone number for them in our system, and then their email address. Now the phone number here is becoming more and more important, because now when we send out what we call e-sign envelope for them to sign, we're now sending them an email and a text message. So in the text message, they have a link where it will open up from the text message their browser so that they can sign their e-sign documents. No matter how you slice it, no matter how good your email address system works, you're going to always have issues. We had more issues with DocuSign delivery of emails than we ever have in our system, just because we don't have quite as many emails being sent out, and we control the sending of our envelopes, so we know that people aren't creating accounts and spamming people through our e-sign, creating a bad reputation in our emails. But you're still going to always have email issues, and we don't want to see email issues with our systems. So now our systems are automatically sending a text message the moment we send an email to another agent that says, I just sent you an email, please confirm that you received it. As well as on the e-sign stuff, though, it actually sends a link to the e-sign. So the phone number is becoming more and more important, and so I'm going to do a quick lookup for West. Click edit, because I actually want to have his phone number. Don't add dashes, don't add anything. Let our system do that for you. What type of lead this is. This actually is a friend of mine, been a client for a long time. You can put their address in here. That becomes more important later for the CRM. And then the pipeline this should be in. I'm going to put this person as pre-qualified, because in this case we have someone who's pre-qualified, they're a buyer, and we're going to change the pipeline so in the CRM we know what status they are for this room. Now we click save. Now we got the phone number, the email address, and we've got their legal name here from our system. There's two important things you need to do. You'll see the box in red that says choose client type. Using our e-sign service, we automatically drop down the signatures where they go on the contract, so that you don't have to click and drag the e-sign signatures down on every single page. We do that for you, but we need to know if this is a buyer or a seller or who in the world this is, and we don't automatically do that for you. You have to click and the order in which you want them to appear. So on the contract, you've got different orders. On the bottom you have the order in which they appear. So if you've got 3 different clients, then you'll want to have buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer 3 in the order that you want their names to appear. Now typically you've got one person that you're continually communicating with throughout the nature of the contract. You've got that main contact. So whoever that main contact is, we want you to set main, and it's going to put their email address and their phone number on the DA, because the DA is asking for only one main contact. So that's really what this is for, is when you click set main, it's really the main contact. If something happens to you, who do we call? If something happens at title and they need to call a customer, who should they call? And so we set main on the main contact person. And if you want to add another contact, you just go down the list and either do a search, and he got married after they bought the property, so I don't have his wife's information in here, but in this case we would do buyer signer 2, and that's how it would look if you had multiples, but these are different people, unrelated to anything in the world, so I'm not going to even use them as a test record. So now I have my one client who is going to be buying a home through me. Now, I don't know in the buyer who the title company is, so I'm going to leave this blank. But I do know who his lender is. He's pre-qualified, either cash or with Iconin. So I select the lender that I have already here. The other agent, we're not under contract yet, so I don't know. And the referral party, there is none in this case because it's my own business. I click save, and now I have a room set up for him. Now, the very first thing, we don't have a property yet, but we do need to get him an IABS, and we need to get him a representation agreement. So we're going to pick a packet. Now, we haven't talked about defaults yet, but we have already grouped all of our forms together in packets. And so we have what we call group packets. The rep buyer SFR is a group of all of the documents required by Realty Texas for their buyer rep packet. Their IABS, their general information and notice to buyer, their representation agreement, their buyer rep agreement, all of that. Now, if it's a agent on a personal purchase, because they are an agent here at Realty Texas, and we don't require that you fill out a listing agreement with yourself, and we have more and more agents here purchasing and selling their own homes, and so we created a special packet for you, which is just a one-pager. If the home is built before 1978, this is going to be an add-on packet, so you would have this packet in addition to this packet. Then, once you find the property, you're going to have a contract sales packet, whether it's a residential home or a new construction home, or it's 1 to 4 family or condo or whatever it is. All of that stuff all falls under here. So you pick the appropriate packet that makes sense based on the situation. If it's a temporary lease, different packets for different reasons. Okay, so I'm going to click the buyer SFR, and I click add. Now here are all the forms that are required as part of the rep roll buyer SFR. To unapply the packet, I click here, and poof, all of it's gone. Put it back, poof, put it here. Very, very easy to apply and unapply a packet. All it's doing is it's applying these forms to your room. If we click over on the forms, you'll see automatically, whoa, all of these forms are already here. And so again, we go back to the packets, we remove the packet, go back to forms, they're gone. So this really is just assigning a packet, which is a group of forms, to your room. We have required here, telling you whether it's required and whether or not there is, this one is not required. Whether you've signed, whether the form has been signed, and whether it's fillable in our system. So on the Forms tab, a pre-qualification letter is not fillable. You can't fill that out. So it's just what we're going to call a label, because you're going to upload that document into a room, because you're going to get the pre-qualification letter from the lender. And so we're going to click a button that says Get from Outlook. It's going to open up your Outlook. You're going to be able to click Outlook and drag it directly into your room through an API through our room system. So you don't have to go to Outlook and click it to your desktop and then drag it from your desktop to your rooms. You can pull it directly out of Outlook into your room using a little tool that we have. I'll show you how to do that in a few moments. So this is a list. The action here of clicking the plus button, this will take your form and it will create a blank form and it will put it into your room. Very, very simple. All this did was take the IABS and it threw it into your room as a form. And here it is. Now, why you would do that at this level, I'm not sure. It's not filled out. But if you need a down and dirty quick, give me an IBS so I can run out the door with it. It's one of the easiest ways. But we also give you right here this link, which will open it up in a browser and you can fill it out or download it. None of that's necessary, but we do want to be able to give you the form if you need it. And by the way, we are the first company in the history of Texas to license Texas Realtors forms. Everybody who is licensed Texas Realtors forms currently is either Zip Forms or one of the form aggregators like DocuSign Transaction Room or many of those others that are out there, like Digital Ink, etc. So we are the first brokerage to do this. We have all of the forms, as well as all the NAR forms, as well as the Actress ABR forms, the Actress buyer rep forms, and their version of the seller's disclosure. All of those forms are in our system ready for you to use. So this is just kind of a list of all of the forms that you may need, and maybe there's another packet. Maybe this property was built before 1978, and so you need another packet. And that packet here, and you'll see you've got the rep buyer packet, and now you've got this other form, which is, if you've applied it, it's certainly required, and here it is. But you can click the button here and make it go away. Now, maybe this is a cash buyer. And if it's a cash buyer, you don't need a pre-qualification letter. So you'll see this negative red button. The red button only shows up when it's not required, because if it's not required, you can click the red button and it will throw it down here in discarded forms, so that you're only dealing with the forms that you actually need. Now, what we're trying to do is help you build a system. This is now your required documents list. You didn't have to have a separate Excel spreadsheet. You didn't have to track it. You didn't have to remember TXR numbers. None of this. All you have to do is select the appropriate role, and we tell you and give you the list. So this is the list, and you can dump out the ones that you don't need. And if there are single forms that you need on top of this, every single form is also listed here with a single form. So maybe you need a special form because information from other sources. And so you can say notice of information from other sources, 2502. 2502 is not part of our set. We click add. It dumps it here. It's not a required form. This is what that form looks like. Notice of information from other sources. I got the survey from the seller, and I can't guarantee that it's accurate. This is a really good limit your liability form, but it's not something that we're going to add to your room as a required document. So 2502, if you want to add that to your room, it's a separate packet. And so that's, again, another reason, or how you would add a second packet. In this case, we're not going to have that role. We're going to dump it back out of the room, and we're just going to leave the normal packets here. So that's all the packets tab is for. It's putting the packets in your room that you're going to need. Eventually, you're going to need a contract packet. But right now, we don't have a contract yet, because I'm just now initially having my client representation agreement meeting with my client. So right now, all I need is my rep packet. We're going to get to the contract packet when I need it. So over on my form side now, you'll see that all of these forms are blank. Now we're going to take a quick hiatus, so we're going to move over to a different system really quick. We're going to click up here, and we're going to click the forms templates for a second, and I'm going to say open up in a new tab, because I don't want to lose this window. I want to open it up in a new tab. So the new tab is right here, edit form template. Now let's grab, it's 1501, the representation agreement. Yeah. So we're going to type in 1501, or you can type in residential rep, or had I typed in rep, it would have found the same one, except there are a lot of things with the word rep in it, so it becomes a little bit more difficult. But 1501, if you know the contract number, it's easier to find it that way. So we click 1501, we click edit. Now we can set up our defaults. I know this information is never going to change, but so I'm going to type in all this information. I didn't need to, though, because we already have this information in the system, so whether I have this particular here or not, it'll still autofill. But I always put Williamson County and Travis County in my definitions. So in my template for this form, I can put Williamson and Travis County. So when I click get data, it'll take this and it'll import it into my buyer rep agreement for me. And all of the fields that you'll select, you can automatically check. I'm going to always check intermediary. So I'm going to check off the intermediary yes. I've got my commissions in here, 3%, 30% if they're going to lease in the market area, construction, 3% of the sales price, 90-day for protection period, Williamson County and the county, checked off all my defaults and my wire fraud, no special provisions. I always like to write that. I tell my client no special provisions, meaning that no special language here, and then I put in the broker number and the name here, and that's it. Now I click save. It's been saved and it's done. So you can do the same thing with your IABS. You can do the same thing with your contract. This is a default setting for your for all of your different forms out there. So this is what we call your forms template. So we're going to close that and go back to your room. So if you want to set defaults for all of these things, you can. Now there's two different ways of looking at the forms. You have the way of looking at your form based on the page view, or you can click this radio button over here and you can see it in the data view. And there are these buttons that are to click and actually watch a video regarding that paragraph contract. So these are all the fields in all of these required documents. So if you want, you can click the data view and then you can go down the fields and it tells you what it's looking for, or you can look at it on the page view, whichever you prefer, but we've given you two different ways to do it. Now, something that we really think that you're going to like is this green fill all button. We've given you the ability to fill each contract separately, so if you do a fill all and then later go add another packet item and add something different, that you're able to fill just that one item. But when you click fill all, it's going to say, by clicking proceed, any data you've entered in your forms will be overwritten by data from the room's MLS and your default values. We click proceed. IABS is filled out. My client information, we didn't have an address in his record, otherwise it would have been filled in. We did have his phone number and his email. Company information, Travis and Williamson County. I'll have to select the date because that's not one of my default values. Intermediary is select based on my default value. We've got Realty Texas and him up here. My 3% commissions that I have. All of this is filled out exactly how I set up my room. So now, really, what I've done is I've created a buyer rep in less than 3 seconds. So let's go back and do the math to figure out. It could take me less than 6 seconds to create this record, less than 3 seconds to create this record, and then this fill all takes less than 1 second. So in less than 10 seconds, I have a buyer rep agreement completely filled out, ready to go. That is the power of having all of the systems integrated into one place. Now, the next step is, what are we going to do with this? Are we going to send this? Are there other documents that we need to include in this? Or are we going to send this packet directly to the client for e-signature? So in terms of a buyer rep agreement, you will send just this, but in the contract, you're going to also be downloading the T47 and the survey and the seller's disclosure and the PID notice or their MUD notice or other disclosures. And so it's not just the contract, the third party financing HOA addendum, you're going to need other stuff. So in that regard, you would PDF everything to your room and then drop in all the other documents to your room, select all the ones that you want, and then push it to e-sign. But here, just in your rep agreement, all I need to do is say e-sign. It pops up a form of all of the different documents. We already have these in order of what I think makes sense in terms of how we would present it to the client, how they would sign it. Always IABS first, rep agreement, general information notice to buyer, hazards or deficiencies, protect your home from mold, information about property insurance for a buyer and seller. For your protection, get a home inspection, question to ask home inspectors, what to know about the home inspection, info about mineral clauses and contract forms, and then wire fraud. I always put them in that order, so I have them defaulted in that order for you. When you click the select all button and you click e-sign, it's going to turn each one of these forms into a PDF. It's going to overlay them. It's going to assign the form label, and then it's going to apply all of the initials and all the signatures for your client in the appropriate place and open it in e-sign. So here we go. Here are all the forms that you need. If you want to add another one, you can do so right here. We didn't have a property address. So if we go back into our room and look, it says TBD for the address. Typically, we will have an address. So we'll address that in right now for the buyer rep agreement. It's please e-sign your buyer rep agreement. And that's what we're going to call the e-sign envelope, as well as the subject message of the email. And then please e-sign the attached buyer rep agreement. Once this document is fully signed by all parties, you'll receive an email with a fully signed rep agreement attached. Okay, now we already have the buyer signer one. We picked that on the parties tab already, and here is his name and email address. If we want to add another party, we can, but we should have done that in the room, not here. We click next. Now here are all your forms. notice the e-sign is already here along with the date signed. So in this case, every single one of these are filled out. Now the scary thing is this is actually a client, and if I click the send button right now, he's actually going to receive this email, and I actually don't want to send my client this buyer rep agreement because he's going to call me and say, hey, what are we buying? Which is both funny and not at the same time. So I'm going to click the save as a draft button. But when you click the when you click the send button, it takes you to the same screen and it will tell you that it is sent. In this case, it's showing here in the draft, and here it is in the draft. And I'm going to talk about this form because this is now we're over in the e-sign product side and we've left our room. And so that is how I'm going to go through deep on the e-sign stuff in a minute, but we're going to go back to the room and we're going to continue where we left off there on the Forms tab. So that is how you would digitally sign the form if you wanted to. If you want to print it, the same thing, a rule applies, same type of form. You just click the select all and hit print, and it will create the PDF and it will allow you to print it to the printer. If you want to download them all, same thing, select all, hit download. It's going to give you a zip file, and inside that zip file are all of the forms in the correct order. We have the room number, which is really cool because when you click and drag it back into your room, it knows what room to go to and what form it was, so it automatically applies a label. I'm going to explain what the label is here in a few minutes because that's an important aspect of how the system knows where to put the signatures and how many pages the form is and where everything goes is a label. So, or share. Now the share feature, this one is kind of a mind-blowing one. When you click the share feature, I can send my client a link where he can open the link, and I'm actually gonna go and I'm going to delete my client here. I'm going to add myself as a buyer with this address. I'm going to call myself buyer signer 1. Super easy update. I'm going to fill all again to replace the old information with my information, so it's no longer Wesley, it's me. I'm going to show you what the share system does. So now it's going to send the buyer Jack Stapleton this. So we click, check all. Whatever here is sent to him, he has the ability to see and change. He can actually edit the data. And when he clicks save, it comes back to me. Now where this is really powerful is for those people who are taking a front row seat on how you draft your contract, and those people who are tenants and you're sending them lease applications. And you can send them the applications and they can fill out the applications. There are some fields that we allow them to fill out and some fields that's blocked so they can't fill it out. So let's click share here. And it says I've just successfully sent and shared a email with party Jack Stapleton. So I'm on the team tab. Okay, so we're gonna open up my email. We're going to wait for my email to arrive, and it has not yet. In fact, it's still downloading emails. Alright, so we're going to be watching that and waiting for the email to arrive. Sometimes it can take up to 15 seconds for it to get through the systems. But the share system is an email. Now, typically, if this is a contract, we're not going to e-sign it from here. We're actually going to do something different. We're going to actually send it to the room, and I haven't shown you that aspect of it yet. So the envelopes tab is a list of every envelope that's been sent. Here is a draft envelope for Wesley. If he had acknowledged it, it would have a green checkbox, which means that when he opens the e-sign, it says, please acknowledge that you actually want to be using a digital signing software, because we have to make sure that our clients accept the terms and conditions of e-sign in order for it to be a legally binding contract. So once they acknowledge it, it's checked off here, and then once they sign it, it says yes, and then it shows the date that they last opened it, and this will be in your room forever as an acknowledgement, and every envelope that you send them will actually be here, so you have a list of all the envelopes that were sent along with this room, and you can go back and actually download the documents that are in here. Now here's the Documents tab. Now remember in the very beginning we pushed an IABS over to ourselves. Again, probably not something that you would ever do in real practice, but I wanted to show you how to get room data from one to the other. So now that it's all filled out, I'm going to click the Fill All again. Get all my data in here, click Save. It's going to do a quick update. Now I'm going to click Room. And the room, what it's going to do, I'm going to select all, and I'm going to take and I'm going to PDF each one of these items, and it's going to dump it into your room. Success. And it gives a list of what it's done here. So now when I go over to my documents, you're going to see all of the forms here already filled out, already ready to go. All right, so and you click the sort button and you'll automatically sort it in the sort order that you want it in. And remember, I told you I have a sort order that I like. The order that it came in is not always the order because it's going to throw them into the room based on the smallest document first. So I want to sort it in the order that I like. So here it is, which is the IABS first and then the rep agreement and the rest. Now, if I have some other document in the course of maybe here's my rep agreement and my client has a contract and a rep agreement that we're doing all at the same time. So now I'm going to save my room. Let's say we found a property that they want to buy. I wonder if we still have from a prior. I'm looking for anything that has an MLS number on it. So let's grab 437-530. Okay, so let's say 437-530. We're going to click the search button. Now it's searching the entire MLS for that MLS number, and HAR has that listing number, CTX, all kinds of ones. Due, closed, closed, closed. All of them are closed. So I actually want one that's not closed. I want one that's actually active. Here's one that's active. We're going to grab this one and add it to the room. Who is this? I think this was a Realty Austin listing, I think. And that's good because I'd rather it be a different company so you can see what it's actually doing. So cool. We're going to grab this property and we're going to click the search button and it's going to bring it up. There's only one. It's Brindisi Place, 335631. Okay, cool. Now it's trying to set the other agent. What we have here now is I'm going to go ahead and click Save. You will see it automatically grabbed a photo and applied a photo to the room. So now I'm going to leave our room altogether. I'm going to click Save again. I was just kind of neurotic about clicking Save. I'm going to go back to my gallery and you'll see that this room on Brindisi, let me query it, that this photo, I guess it's not applied yet. It'll take a second, but this photo is now going to be on the gallery. We're using CDN, so it takes a couple seconds for the photo to show up, but it will eventually show up, and that will be the photo here on our room. All right, so going back to it, back on the property tab, what you've seen happen here is based on adding this property, we automatically added the address, city, state, and zip. The price, all of this came from the MLS, and then it told us who the agent is. Richard Fowler is the listing agent with Realty Austin, and there's his phone number, actress, and this is his broker's information. So if we need to get in touch with the broker, this is who we would contact, and this is the email address and the phone number for the broker. Now over here in the team tab, we know his license is 630155. So we come down here and we can easily add him here, 630155. Boom. And now we're going to save again. And now we have his TREC information, because before we had the information from the MLS, but this is the information from TREC. So now we have his email address he's using. He's been licensed for 9 years, his address for the firm, and then we've got the brokerage information and then the managing broker. So Yvette Broadwright is the manager, her phone number, her email, her license number, and then the firm's license number that they have. So all of that information shows up under other agent, which most people like. But one quickie thing that I think that I'm going to show you that you'll be pretty impressed with is his production search. So if you click that, it's going to bring up his production search so you can check up on this agent really quick. These are the properties that he sold. He closed 40 transactions in 2021. 2022, he's closed 12 leases and 4 sales. And so it shows 2016 he closed 58, 18 million in production, 20 million in production in 2019. So this is an agent who's listing a lot. Here is his residential sales. He kind of had a high of just over 60 transactions in 2016 and 17. He fell down to almost 15 transactions and then built that production back up again. And now his production over the last couple of years has been falling. And right now here he is this year with 4 transactions. But last year he did pretty good with 40. So, but year over year, 40, 52, and 60, 40, 52, and 60, as his sales manager or his coach, I'd be trying to figure out what he's doing for diminishing returns, because his transactions are actually, a number of transactions are closing in a market where a number of transactions are actually increasing. So anyway, that's nor here nor there, but when you're looking up on that agent, because here I am the buyer agent, I want to know how experienced is this listing agent. I get an idea that this listing agent is pretty experienced. Funny story, I actually sold this house before. I sold it as a listing agent a couple years ago on pregnancy. All right, so now we've established the property. So my client has decided they're going to buy this property. I assigned it to the room. I go to the packet, and now I want the contract packet because I need my 1-to-4 residential contract. So I grab that packet and I click add. Now you'll see how all of these are blue. These are all blue because in my documents tab, I've added them all and I've assigned a label. These labels mean that the document is here, but if you recall, none of these documents are signed. So compliance would not look at these as documents that are legitimate because they're not signed. So I'm going to create a folder and I'm going to edit the name. Call it whatever you want, but just call it something that makes sense. We hit select all. I'm going to move checked to a folder. I'm going to move all of these unsigned documents to my folder that I called unsigned. And poof, now they're all in here. If I want to access them, I can, but this is a folder. I can have as many folders as I want because I'm going to go back to my forms really quick and I'm going to click the e-sign again. I'm going to hit select all. And this time I'm the client. So it's actually going to get e-signed to me. So that I get the e-sign, I'm going to open up the e-sign. We're going to sign it together so you can see what that looks like. I should also be getting a text message regarding this e-sign packet. So what it's doing right now again is it's PDFing each one of these documents. It's overlaying the data. It's applying the labels. It's applying the signatures. It's throwing it into the stack, creating the e-sign envelope, and assigning the party. So it's been a very little busy bee as it's been doing all of this. We already have the property assigned, so it's got the address here, property signed, addressed here. I am the buyer signer 1, so it's going to me. We click next. And now all I have to do is say send and complete. When I click send and complete, it's going to take just a couple seconds. And now under sent items, you see pending. You see all this information. Now you see the e-sign button. Because I use this email address, it knows that I am Jack Stapleton. And so sometimes we also sign documents that are part of a contract, whether it's information notice to buyer has our signature on it. So some of the signatures are for us. So in this case, the system picked that, hey, this is Jack. And so he needs to sign this. But here's the email that I just received. It says, and it knows I'm a party. Hello party, please sign the attached document. So when I click open document, this is the terms and conditions for e-sign. I click accept. I have 16 tasks ahead of me, which is 16 signatures. I'm going to click new task. And all I have to do is go ahead and sign all of these. And remember, I'm acting as the buyer. So now the buyer got their envelope. They were able to sign it, which is cool. And look what we have here. this is what I got as a text message. Hello from Realty Texas, your docs are ready for e-sign. I could have either opened the email or I could have opened this text message, and in this situation it opens up the text message. Same thing, I can finish the send. Every time I open it, it's going to ask me to do that again. But in this case, I can either open it in the text message or I can open it in the email. Now I'm going to refresh this page, and you see it's been acknowledged, but it hasn't been signed yet. It doesn't know that it's been signed, so it's going to take it a second because the email takes a minute to synchronize with our systems. And so in a couple of seconds, I did already receive an email that says that the client opened it. Me acting as the client opened the email. So for each one of these statuses, we send you an email to let you know what happened. But remember, there's a lot of documents here. So now it's actually taking the PDFs and it's redithering them, and it's taking the signature and it's embedding it in the document, actually creating these documents and storing each one of those documents on the server, and it's in a stack. So we might have 50 agents that are doing e-sign at the exact same time. And so if that's the case, then we might be 14 in a queue. We never slow down the customer experience, but working on the stack in the background, it's working on those. So it can be anywhere from 30 seconds up to 4 minutes for it to finish the stack and give us it back. And so, you know, sometimes we're neurotic, but we keep hitting refresh. We did that in DocuSign, right? Did they sign it? Did they sign it? Here, finally, it's updated that it was signed at 2:55. The last opened was at 2:54. And so this acts as a receipt. When I click the room and go back to my room, now when I click on my envelopes, we saw the initial envelope I sent. This is the new envelope that I sent, and I'm still waiting for the confirmation for the email with the documents because I don't have that back yet, but it'll be back any second. So we'll bring that up in a second. By the way, I forgot, we had earlier a shared documents thing that I completely forgot about to show you. Our system has the share button. When you click the share button, it'll send an email address to a client, and then the client can actually share something with you, and they get the document and they're able to fill it in. Some things we don't let them change, but some things we do. So everything in yellow, the client has the ability to change. Now, they've got 22 hours to change it, and then they have to click save once they're done, but it will update our room based on the client's changes. So the client has the ability to come here and change this if you share the document with them. Typically, you're not going to share a rep agreement with them, but you certainly might want to share an application with them if they're a tenant and be able to share the application. They can fill it all in, one application for each tenant. It shares, goes to each tenant. They fill it out. As they click save, you're being notified that that's been done, and poof, all of a sudden now, instead of trying to fill it out for them, they're filling it out, and all of the data is being entered into your room for you. The whole goal here is for us to limit our data entry by having all of the data in one system. So now I've sent my rep agreement out for signature, but now I'm going to go to my packets and I'm going to add my contract role. I'm going to click add. Now, it's important though, I actually haven't finished. Now I'm getting ahead of myself. So you notice now these are blue. These are blue because there is no documents in the room. If there's a document, we have one label for every document. So for each one of these packets, there has to be a signed document in the room for each one of these. And so right now we have no documents, and so I'm going to go and I'm going to say pull from e-sign. And this will open up every single one of my envelopes. Here is the envelope that's been completed. I'm going to click it, and here are all the available docs in that envelope that I just signed. And so I can pull them out of e-sign into my room. So I'm going to click add. It's going to take a second because now it's going to pull all of those documents from e-sign back into my room. And remember the order that I like the IABS first and then the buyer rep second. All you got to do is click this sort button and it will move them into the sort order that makes sense. We might have lost our sort order. If so, that's a bug that we have to work out because it should know. Okay, well, I'm going to have to report that to Elmer. Pull from e-sign order. Okay, so you can do it the hard way by clicking and dragging these, but we have an easy button by by clicking the sort order button. But now another thing is that you'll notice that these are all signed. Because we pulled this from e-sign, we know that they're already signed. So this is telling compliance when you submit your room that here's this document and the document is fully signed. So again, I'm going to click Save All. Now when we go over to our room, you're going to see that I'm going to go over to my packets and you see these are all blue. It's blue because it's completed. These items are done. So you know that you have no outstanding issues or items for your rep packet. So now we find the property, add the property to the room, and do all of this. Now we're going to submit an offer on that property, and we select the contract 1 to 4 residential buyer, and we click add. Now all of a sudden there'll be a whole bunch of new requirements here. All right, so we have the contract 1 to 4. It looks like it's splitting this up a little bit. But we have the 1601, which is our 1 to 4 family, third-party financing. That's maybe cash, so it's not required. If you want to get rid of this document, you can click the minus and it'll get rid of it. Maybe this isn't an HOA. You can click it and get rid of the HOA. A non-realty addendum. Let's say we're not asking for a washer, dryer, fridge. We click it, that's gone, and it's now down here. Notice of buyer declined inspection. He's not declining the inspection. Buyer declined option. He's not declining the option. This maybe is or is not a PID. We always want the inspection report, T47. We do need our CMA cover page and the actual CMA, which is two different things. If we get a copy of the appraisal, we can add it here. In this case, maybe we don't get it. We're definitely going to add the MLS to the record. The title commitment will be added here. The disclosure relationship with a residential service, your earnest money and option receipt goes here. Your MUD notice, T47, seller's disclosure, all of these documents. Now, some of these documents you're getting from somebody else, and some of these that you're actually filling out. The ones you're getting from somebody else, you're not going to actually fill out that form, and the system knows that. So now we've got our buyer rep packet up here. We can minimize that if we want, because the buyer rep packet is done, and now we have the contract 1 to 4. We have a notice to prospective buyer, the inspector information, 1 to 4 family resale contract, which is our 1601, and third-party financing, mandatory member in a HOA, disclosure of residential contract with a residential contract company, and then the CMA cover page. Now watch what happens when I click Fill All. When I click Fill All, it's going to go ahead and it's going to fill all of this data. So now when I click on 1414, it has the address already there for you. Going down to Notice Prospective Buyer, has all the data for the buyer. Here's the inspector information. Here's the contract. Now I got to enter the seller because the system doesn't know that. I also have to do the legal description because the MLS is horrible and not providing us that. If there's any exclusions, I'm going to put the purchase price and the type of financing, and I'm going to go ahead and fill out the contract. But what I failed to do here, I'm going to go and click Save, is what I should have done is told the system what title company. So I'm going to go over here and say, oops, I meant to tell this that I'm working with Lisa Reeder over at Independence Title. So click Save. I'm going to go back to my forms. I'm going to click Fill All again, hit Proceed, and poof, now my title company's there. So I don't have to worry about that. All I have to do is enter my numbers. Go down, we're going to go ahead and fill out the contract. I'm not going to fill all of this out because this is just for test purposes, but all of the contract gets filled out. Yes, we also fill out the back page, which is a huge time saver for you. We also fill out the receipt page, which is a huge time saver for you. You're going to fill out your third party. You're going to fill out your HOA addendum, and then fill out your BPO price opinion, which is required by TREC. TREC says that you will provide a CMA at the time before an offer is submitted, and so this is the time to make sure that we have checked off that box and it's been done. Okay, so now, same thing. Now that I have all of these documents, I want to e-sign or push these documents to my room, because now I want to e-sign these, but I'm also going to grab some other documents from some other sources. So I'm going to click Room, and I'm going to grab all of these. I'm going to say, all right, let's go ahead and PDF all of my contract ones. These were all my rep roles. These are my contract roles, and I'm going to click Room. It's going to take the PDFs. It's going to dump them into the room. So when I go over to my Documents tab, now I have some with different colored labels. So I've got blue, which is my rep roll, so that you can see all the blue ones here came from my representation agreement, and then the teal one is the one for this contract, so that you can easily see. Now this checkbox here, this is designed so you can click it and it will check only that roll because I want to check all of these documents and I want to send it to e-sign because I'm going to have my client sign this. But there are some other documents that I need. Let's just pretend that this document is a seller's disclosure. So I can click it from my desktop into my room. It's going to create each page, and then it doesn't have a label because it doesn't know what I just uploaded. It knows what these were because the system knew that it took it from our form system and threw it in the room, so it knew what the label was, but it doesn't know what this form is. So when we drop this down, here are all the forms in the system that have not already had a label. Now, what am I talking about? Let's go back, click save. I'm telling you, I'm neurotic about clicking save. You go back to the packets tab, and all of these ones that are in white, under not discarded forms, but all of these in white and all of these in white are forms that may be required that I haven't yet assigned a label to. So this is a hot sheet of what I still have left outstanding that I need. So when I'm going over here to the documents tab, that's what this is looking for. This list is the list of all of the ones that are in that list that are still white. So maybe one of them is the seller's disclosure. And now I've assigned the seller's disclosure, and now the seller's disclosure is no longer in that list. So I click save all again. But I want to include this. It's also part of this packet. I'm going to click this again, and it's going to select all of these. And now I'm going to scroll to the top, and I'm going to grab push to e-sign. Now, the same is true. It is creating the stack. It's taking these forms and it's uploading the form, overlaying the data, overlaying the signatures, adding the party record, creating the e-sign record and the envelope. And it's giving me the address here, got my party, buyer already signed out, click next, and now here are all my forms. With the signatures already in place and ready to go, I click send and complete. Now it's sending the contract packet. So now I've sent the rep packet. It took me a couple seconds to make it. I created the contract packet. It only took me a couple of seconds to make it. And I already have an email in my inbox saying, hey, hello, you have just received a contract. I just received another one of my text messages, so I have a choice. I can either click the text message or the email. If I click the text messages, it's the exact same thing. It asks me to accept the terms and conditions. I click agree. I go to next task, and then the client is now signing all of their forms. So I'm again pretending like I am the client on their computer as they're signing. And by the way, I just received an email that says, hey Jack, your client Jack Stapleton just opened their envelope and they're signing it. So that's super helpful to know, because I know when you send your client your envelope and you want to get that offer, you're like, have they signed it? Have they signed it? We all do that, even me. So I have the system telling you whether or not they've opened it to keep you apprised of what's going on. And now the client has completed signing the contract. So that's the third envelope. So again, we're still in the e-sign product. I'm going to click the room's number to take me back to the room. If I click the envelopes here, you will now see the third one. It knows that I am Jack, so it's asking if I want to sign it, but it's red because it's already been signed. And so now in a couple of minutes, I'm going to just verify this again. Okay, just make sure that that was done. Hit refresh. Continue. Okay, yeah, it's just, like I said, it takes a while for the system to know that it was done. Okay, so as this is finishing up, we're going to get an email from the system, as well as the system will, like I said, between 1 and 4 minutes, it will mark this as completed and signed. But what I need is I need those documents in here. All of these documents, they weren't signed. And by the way, if they are signed, they're only signed by my client. So now I'm going to click this because I don't want partially signed documents in my room. So I'm going to click add folder. I'm going to go to my, and over here I'm going to say rep agreement unsigned. And then you always need to have your final completed rep agreement and contract in this folder here with a label. And so I don't want to have extra documents here of unsigned documents. So these versions of forms were prior to signature. So I'm going to say contract unsigned. And now I'm getting a bunch of emails telling me that the system now has found that it is done. Now that these are checked, click this to check it off. As you see all those blue check marks go, I'm going to say move to folder. I'm going to get these out of my way. I'm going to say this is contract unsigned. You can call these whatever you want. Your organization is up to you. But now I have an email here that says your client Jack signed the documents and here they are in a PDF form. Now I have two options. I can do one of two things right now. I can say pull from eSign, and I can grab, it says completed for this particular property, and here are all my forms that are done. I can do that, but I'm going to show you something else. It's a new feature that we've added, which is pull from Outlook, because there is an email, I just showed it to you, that's in my inbox. This actually is creating a open query between .me and your Office 365 inbox. It's querying that and showing you all of the emails that you have. And dun, 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 inbox 9, here it is. I click this, and here are all of the documents that are in that email, and I can click add to room. This is great when I send my buyer signed contracts to the listing agent, and then the listing agent gets them signed, and the listing agent sends it back to me. The only version of the fully signed contracts are in my email. So this allows me to grab from my email and pull it into my room, which is what I would really do after we present the offer to the listing agent and it gets signed. So for right now though, in this state, you typically are just going to go and grab it right out of your room, have it all selected, or grab it right out of your eSign rather, click the add button, and it pulls it right into your room. As they say, voila. So now I have buyer signed documents. So now that it's signed by the buyer, I want to send it to the agent. So I'm going to click all of these. I might move them around because I'm really frustrated that my sort button isn't working. Oh, now it's working. So here is the rep agreement sorted correctly. And here is, nope, this isn't sorted correctly. There is some kind of delay going on here with my sorting because it definitely just resorted my rep agreement correctly. But anyway, we're going to still have this looked at. Typically, I'm really picky in how I present my docs. I always going to want them to get a copy of the contract first, third party, then your HOA. Some of this I'm not going to send over to them. Maybe your non-realty addendum I would. Inspector information, no. Notice prospective, no. Special flood hazard areas, no. But these documents are all part of the offer packet. So my client signed the offer. These are going to the listing agent. So I click these, and we have an email button. So I click email. Now, who am I going to send it to? I'm going to send it to, now these you don't fill out, and this is a little bit confusing, but this is the list down here of who you're going to send it to. So to fill these out, you click the plus buttons down here. So the other agent is Richard Fowler. We already got that information, so it's going to go to him too. I want me, the client, Jack Stapleton, because I'm a buyer signer, I want to put that in the CC. So my client got CC'd. I'm not going to CC the title company yet because I am now presenting an offer to this agent. Now what's scary is if I click send right now, it's actually going to send Richard Fowler an offer from myself. I don't want to do that in real life because I'm not interested in buying this property. So I'm going to just go ahead and put myself in the two, and then that's it, just so you can see what the email looks like. And I want to grab all of these documents. Now I have a couple of options here. I have the ability to take documents and group them into one PDF. So if I want to do that right now, I can grab maybe whatever documents I want to send, which is part of my 1 to 4 third party HOA non-realty and as I'm clicking them, I'm putting them in the order that it's going to go, and nothing else is needed. Those are the only 4 that I'm going to send with this offer. And then I can either say merge and attach, or I can attach selected. If I merge and attach, I have to give it a name, which would be like offer 101 Brindisi, and it will take all of those 4 documents and it'll add it to one PDF. Or I can say just attach selected. It's up to you on how you want to handle this. So if I just click the add, it's going to add those 4. I click preview, it brings up what the message is going to look like, adds my footer, all my information. Here you see the attachments, and I click send. And now I'm going to receive an email and a text message, by the way, letting me know that an email was sent, so that now I've just sent this email to the client on the other side, and the client on the other, or the agent on the other side, and they're going to get a text message and an email. And I'm waiting for one moment for it to show up, and there it is in my inbox. Here it would say the other agent's name, potential parties, attach other documents related to this. Please confirm that you received this email. Let me know if you have any questions. And here are the 4 items. And so this agent just sent this agent these 4 documents as part of the offer. And so now, and then a text message letting him know that the offer has been sent. Now we're waiting for that to come back. So now this is signed only by one client. I still don't want these in my room. I don't, because these are not fully signed. So I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call this one. And by the way, you can delete these. You don't have to create folders. We have a delete button to just dump these out, but I'm showing you, if for those people who don't like to delete anything and want to keep a transaction history, you can. So we're going to say contract buyer signed only. And then we'll just go ahead and make sure all of these are selected. We go up here, because I can say delete selected. I'm going to move these to buyer, contract buyer signed only, get them out of my room. And now let's say you're waiting. You make your phone calls, a day later, comes back and says, hey, we're countering you. Great. How are you going to counter me? Well, we're going to counter you and change the sales price. Okay, I can do that. No problem. You go to your form, you go to your 1601, and you change the price. Then you do the same thing again. You're going to just take this particular form, and you're going to select 1601, and you're going to say room. And then I'm going to say, okay, where is my 1601? Because I only want my 1601. I'm going to push that into the room with the brand new sales price. Go back over to documents. Now you have your 1601 over here, and then you can select this one. You can say e-sign, get it to your client, push to e-sign, and you can have him sign it. But so that's how you would handle a counter if that happened. And again, I have the ability to delete one if I want, and I'm deleting that one because that's not what's going to say. What really happened is the listing agent called me and said, Jack, love your offer. It was written perfectly, no issues. We have just sent you an email with a fully signed offer from the seller. Yes, we're under contract. That is so awesome. All right, cool. Did you any counters, anything that my client needs? No, everything is good. It's in your inbox now. Awesome. So it's in my inbox now. So I'm going to pull from Outlook. I click the button, I look at the email from this particular agent, and let's say I find it, and here they are, and now I just start clicking add to room, and of course I grabbed, I think, the one that has representation documents and contract documents, but I'm just going to pretend like this is the 4 documents that they signed. And now I've 1, 2, 3, 4. I've grabbed those 4. I go back here. Now they're in my room. Now I don't know. My email had no idea what those documents were. So now I have to apply a label, you see. So here I know that this is 1601, and so I'm going to find TSR 1601. I know that this is my third-party financing addendum, so there's my third-party financing. I know that this is my HOA addendum because I can see it, so I'm going to say disclosure of residential with RSC, mandatory HOA. That is about... So, all right, so let's just say these 3. Now, these 3 are the contract documents that I have that are ready to go. So I'm like, cool. I'm going to email these. I want to send to Independence Title. I want to send to my client as a CC, and I'm going to also send to Richard Fowler. And now I'm going to click preview and send it over, and I'm going to have it delivered to title company and my client. When I click preview, I can change the subject, final signed contract, and then click send, and then Independence Title, myself and Richard Fowler would get an email with the final signed documents. And in my room, now I'm going to clean up my room and grab all the rest of the documents that were representation and get them filled out. Once they all have a label, how do I know when I have all my documents done? I go to my packets and I look for something here. Information about flood hazard areas is required. I need it. Notice prospective buyer. I need it. So I still have these, and the system is not going to let me submit this to compliance until each one of these have a label, which means those have to be in my documents and those labels have to be here. And so information about flood hazard areas, and it says at the end required if it is required. And so this one's required, so it helps you know whether it's required. And once you have all of the documents in your room, then you click on the contract details. You're going to put the seller's name. You're going to put the close date, the registration date of your client, and then whether or not it was a lead or not, whether there's a company lead or not, and then the source, where'd you find this client, and now what was your commission? It's 3%. Are you paying any other agents, any referral fees, any bonuses? What was the sales price? $1,100,000. And now you see all your commission is here. It shows how much Realty Texas is getting, how much you're getting, and exactly at the end, exactly how much your check is going to be. So we click Save All, and then we click Submit. Now I know that my documents aren't ready. So it says, please click the Packets tab to review required documents that are missing or not yet labeled in the room. So I go back to the packets, and I see that I have packets that have not yet been done. So in order for me to be able to close out this room and submit it for review, I will have to upload these documents and then assign the label using that Assign Label tool. So this is the nuts and the bolts of how to use the room system. I know this was a long one. It was an hour and 20 minutes, but there's so many pieces of functionality here that you don't know that's here unless you just really see how the system would work in real time. And in finding this, I found that the sort functionality is not working correctly, and so that is something that we will be able to get on fixed on Tuesday morning. So anyway, thank you so much for joining this particular video. This is video 5, how to use the room system and how to use the e-sign service. The next video is going to be how to create an e-sign outside of the room system. So we will see you in the next video, video 6, e-sign. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.